See, now, when I was growing up, I never understood carrot cake because that's like vegetable, right? So, maybe think of it that way. Instead of it as a dessert, you're eating your vegetables.
That's delusion.
I'm also gonna taste it because, well, it's cream cheese frosting. Let's see how this works. All right, well, I'm not really sure how I'm gonna, oh man, that's
It's
so good.
so good.
Yeah, cake boss, I am not. This week on No Gluten, No Whey, gluten-free carrot cake with cream cheese frosting.
Did you just have an evil grin?
I think I might have. Welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to be making a gluten-free, dairy-free carrot cake with a cream cheese frosting. Go ahead and click subscribe, preheat your oven to 325, and let's get started. Hello. Okay, I have my stand mixer that is plugged in. I'm gonna start with my dry ingredients. Gluten-free cake can sometimes be a little bit dry, so to combat that, I'm going to use a mixture of my regular basic flour blend. That video is also available if you haven't had a chance to watch that yet. Some ground oats and some teff flour to keep the moisture in it. So I'm gonna start with my oats. I use Bob's Red Mill gluten-free oats, and I've blended them up. So about a cup of oats in the blender until they make a fine powder, mostly all ground up. It doesn't have to be, no chunks at all, but mostly ground up. Would make an oat flour about 3/4 of a cup. So mine's already ground. So I'm just going to start with 3/4 of a cup of my oat flour. And along with that, I'm going to add some teff flour. Teff flour mostly because I like the flavor of it. It kind of gives it a little, like graham crackers, that nutty flavor that goes really well with a carrot cake. I only need 1/4 of a cup of that. And then my basic flour blend, a cup of flour. I am not adding xanthan gum in this. If you remember when I did the flour blend, I don't like to add xanthan gum into my flour mixture because I like to control that in each of my baked goods. And this is one that I don't necessarily need the xanthan, which holds things together because of the oat. The oat helps take care of that. And I do want it a little bit crumbly, so I'm leaving that out in this recipe. So I have ground oats, teff, and basic flour blend here, and I'm just going to give that a little mix up. And then along with that, I'm going to add a tablespoon of baking soda, which is what gives it the rise. A tablespoon of cinnamon. And then my sugars. And I'm going to do 1 cup of regular granulated sugar and 1 cup of brown sugar. So that's a lot of sugar, but it also locks in the moisture and makes it really yummy. See, now, when I was growing up, I never understood carrot cake because that's like vegetable, right? So, maybe think of it that way. Instead of it as a dessert, you're eating your vegetables.
That's delusion.
Well, cream cheese frosting fixes
Everything.
a multitude of sins. Although, let's be honest, I don't think it would fix pumpkin pie. That is still just a vegetable. I do make pumpkin pie because everybody else likes it, but it's not my favorite. Well, we could make pumpkin cheesecake. Pumpkin cheesecake squares would be good.
Halloween is coming.
I know
Thanksgiving is
all the
coming.
pumpkin flavored things are coming out now, and it is so not time. It's not even. It's just barely back to school. It's still August. Okay, got my dry ingredients, and now I'm going to add my wet ingredients. I need 3/4 of a cup of oil, and this one I would say is probably pretty versatile. I'm using a canola oil, vegetable oil would work fine, melted butter would work. I don't see why coconut oil wouldn't work in this instance as well. So 3/4 of a cup of oil. Then I need 3 eggs. And this is another one. Eggs would be an easy substitution. There's no reason why like applesauce wouldn't work. That flavor would go well with this. So that would be a fine substitute for eggs there. Applesauce would change the texture a little, but I think that would be a good substitution for the eggs. And then I'm going to use 1 container of vanilla silk almond milk yogurt. This is about 2/3 of a cup of yogurt. And along with it, I'm going to add about 1/4 of a cup of my non-dairy milk. And 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Then I'm just gonna mix that until it's all incorporated. You can see that there's still some pieces of oat in there. You can see the flecks as it mixes. We don't need it to be completely ground to a fine powder, just mostly broken up. Sometimes I forget to lock it, then I forget to unlock it. All right, I'm just gonna stir that, make sure there's no lumps at the bottom. Oops. Cake batter all over my hand. And then add in my carrots. I have already shredded up carrots, about 3 cups of carrots. And just mix that in. Beautiful. Now it's ready to pour into my pan. So I've made this a couple different ways. You can do 9x13 pan, just make sure you grease it first. You could use 2, probably the regular, I don't know what is it, about a 9-inch round cake pan. For those, I grease and then cut a piece of parchment paper to put in the bottom. Today I just happen to be using one thicker round pan. Any of those would work just fine. I have not tried this with muffin tin to make cupcakes, but I think that would be good as well. Alrighty, here we go. All right, my oven is ready, my cake is ready. In we go. 325, about 50 minutes. Don't forget to subscribe. See you soon. The timer ran off. I'm ready to check my cake. just gonna do my little toothpick test to make sure. Yeah, so we've got moist crumbs, but it's not jiggly or liquid in the middle at all. So that's gonna need to cool completely before it's ready to frost. While I'm waiting for it to cool, I'm gonna mix up my cream cheese frosting. The whole reason for eating carrot cake in the first place. To my stand mixer, I'm going to start with about 4 ounces of cream cheese, and I'm using the Whey brand cream cheese, so it's about half of a package. Other brands of cream cheese would work, non-dairy cream cheese would work just fine. I've used other ones. I just like the mild flavor of the Whey. Some non-dairy cream cheeses have kind of a aftertaste that's like undefinable other than non-dairy cream cheese, and I find that this one does not. So there's my cream cheese. I also need about half of a cup of butter, and again, I'm using Whey. And I'm also going to use some Crisco shortening. Now, if you're soy-free, Crisco has soy in it, but it is gluten-free and there's no dairy. I'm using it because cream cheese tends to be softer for decorating on a cake, and the shortening gives a little more stability in the frosting to hold its shape for decorating. I need about half a cup of that as well. And I'm going to use my paddle and not the whisk. And then I'm gonna just turn it on enough to mix all of these things together and get them a little bit fluffy. Scrape this down, and then I'm going to start adding powdered sugar. This takes about 4 cups of powdered sugar, and I added a little bit at a time. Mix it together, looking for texture as I go. So when it's ready, the frosting should walk itself around the bowl, so it kind of like moves as looks like it's taking steps, and I'll show you that when we get to it. So that was 3 cups of powdered sugar. I'm also going to add in, at this point, a teaspoon of vanilla. And then mix that in, and then add my last cup of powdered sugar. Oh, whoops. You just got it everywhere.
I remember when we first started dating, I sent you a picture of the kitchen of the house that I lived in, and your response was, I could do some damage in there. And I thought, I've never thought about cooking as damage.
Oh no, it's damage control when I cook.
Now I see the damage.
Oh well. All right. So all 4 are mixed in. I'm going to scrape this down. Make sure I don't have any pockets of powdered sugar on the bottom. And then I'm also going to taste it because, well, it's cream cheese frosting, and I need to know if I need more powdered sugar. Okay, once it's all mixed in, I'm gonna turn my mixer up to about medium speed and mix it until I get that consistency that I was talking about. You can kind of watch. So it's not quite there yet. It's starting to kind of pull away from the sides a little bit. We want it to be like a very consistent. So you can almost see at the top edge of the frosting, as the blade goes by, it pulls away a little bit and kind of leaves a little bit of a peak as it goes. That's what we're looking for. The extra mixing time here is one of those things that I kind of think is more the better. Now, granted, I wouldn't like leave it for a half an hour and walk away, but back in my glutinous and dairy eating days, I had a copycat recipe for cinnamon rolls with their cream cheese frosting, and it was 12 minutes of extra beating. And it does make a difference. It's so light and fluffy and creamy with that extra time in there. And now that I have a stand mixer and don't have to do it by hand, might as well let it do its thing. I don't really think you need 12 minutes, but several really does make a difference. Yeah, so now around the top edge, it's a pretty consistent like ridge that is pulling away and seems to just be moving like in steps as the beater goes around there. So that's the consistency that we're looking for. And it's all smooth and creamy and very light and fluffy. Looks good to me. Yeah, so it also holds up. It's pretty stiff, which a lot of times cream cheese frosting is not, which would be why I chose to put shortening in it. The shortening is not essential. It would be still yummy, just as good with the non-dairy butter in it, but it does help with the consistency if you want to do any kind of decorating. Now, I am not a cake decorator by any means, but I do like to give myself every advantage I can to make it look decent and presentable. Okay, so as soon as my cake is done cooling, I will be ready to decorate it and taste it. All right, my cake is cooled. I'm ready to start decorating. Let's see how this works. Flaky. So this is the reason I use this pan, even though it makes it a little more difficult. I love how caramelized and golden brown it gets around the edges. All right, well, I'm not really sure how I'm gonna. It looks like it'll be okay. All right, I'm gonna try this. Okay, but I don't know that this is gonna work, so. Oh man, that's
it's
so good.
So good. done? We're trying to shoot.
A little bit more. You all done? All better? All right, move on through. Yeah, cake boss, I am not. I have to say though, this cake turns out so nice and toasty golden brown that it is a little sad to cover it up. I have done it as a, I think you call it a naked cake, where you just barely skim frosting and only decorate the top. You know what I need is the Lazy Susan that you had the camera on.
Do you want me to get it? The camera's not even shooting anything right now.
Sure.
Let's try it.
Ha ha ha. Oh, it's gonna be close. Ah, I made it. Let's see if I can do one more in the middle. Probably ruin it now. Ta-da! Cake decorator I am not, but it tastes good.
This is good. Have you ever decorated a cake and then cut into it
At the same time?
10 seconds later?
No, because I always make them for like birthday dinners or whatever, and so it's, yeah. All right, here goes. I hate cutting cake because I don't cut straight and I'm always feel like I'm going to destroy it. The caramelized edge. This week on No Gluten, No Whey, gluten-free carrot cake with cream cheese frosting.
Did you just have an evil grin?
I think I might have. The best way to eat your vegetables. Goodbye.